It's a good question. I mean, I feel like that's what I live for, honestly. I live for good music and good literature. I feel like aesthetics are everything. I mean, I wouldn't be the same person without Violeta Parra, without Miles Davis, without Victor Jara, Carlos Santana. And it's a trip. Both sides of racial and sexual stereotypes. Put away the guns. Better yet, a drunk Muslim woman enters a restaurant and asks for a cigarette. She then talks about her love life. It's necessary for women to ask for permission to drink tea and look peaceful. What we need to do is acknowledge the fact that oppression did actually occur, that we will live for years not knowing who our lovers would be. I might as well be celibate until the war arrives. Give a woman a name that will make her a fighter. At least she will be remembered. Why do you complain about being woken up by calls to prayer 5 times a day? Don't be all proper about it. Remember all the details about your betrayal. Come to the realization that people will make laws to instruct you how to live 20 years of your life, how to satisfy your cravings for companionship. You know, the worst thing is not being oppressed. The worst thing is knowing that people want you to be oppressed. She said I was having nightmares and described it. And through parallel histories of teardrops and bad decisions down my throat. Your country must have been sexier during the dictatorship. At least you made your presence known. A woman's clavicle should be your sanctuary. The sincere people have failed to feel empathy and are just sedated by conformity. I was told by the taxi driver in Lisbon that they had a bloodless revolution. I ran around the city that night. She moaned that I talked too much about politics, that we should just fuck. Religious people are gullible is the best way to put it. I would say that there's a few cities that I can think of. You know, with poetry, it's you find home when you're reciting poetry in front of people. You find a source of comfort. And I've also traveled to manifest that, to feel that sensation, to feel a level of acceptance or a level of love and care, not just by its city, not just by the scenic parts of the city, but also by its people, of course. And there tends to be cities where, they have lower frequencies or that are more dangerous, that are more chaotic. And at the top of my head, I can think of maybe Madrid, Lisbon, Montreal, Santiago de Chile, Bogota, Colombia, Vancouver. I didn't spend much time there, but I've been all over the world. It's something I'm blessed for having experienced. It's something I feel privileged. I feel very good about it. It's an honor to have. When you go around the world, you can immerse yourself with people that completely disagree with you and still have respect towards you, and that's a very interesting juxtaposition to be around people that think completely different than yourself, but will acknowledge you, acknowledge your presence, will even celebrate you in a way. So I've gone to, in Western Europe, I will go into museums. Reina Sofia, for instance, in Madrid, I'll go inside and look at the work of Pablo Picasso, Guernica, which is considered the biggest, most prestigious anti-war painting. And I will afterwards have a glass of wine with people that I just meet in the artistic, neighborhood of Madrid. And then I'll make friends and connect with people and other artists and poets. And then we will also be entrenched in the shit of the social issues of the country. So it's good how you can just immerse yourself not only as an artist in a different city, but also you can experience the lives that those people lead. For instance, I really have an appreciation for Spain. So when I was in Madrid, we had a poetry group, and I would have all these friends, and it was a special thing. But then crazy stuff happened, and the same shit that happens in America would happen there, and people were very angry about these things. I won't mention in detail about what it was specifically, but yeah, I would just think of all these cities in Western Europe, like I mentioned, Lisbon, Madrid, Montreal in Canada, Vancouver in Canada, Chile, Buenos Aires is also really cool. And all these cities have a similar trend of being accepting of the other, of people that are okay with critical thinking, okay with being vulnerable in an artistic way. Vulnerability in a city can look in many different ways. You can accept immigrants, you can accept the other, you can accept the LGBTQ, you can accept all these groups that are different than yourself. And those are the cities that I love, that they do that very well, in a very maybe charming way, in a very caring way. So yeah, those are just a bunch of cities that I can think of, and it's hard to leave those places, but they have offered me inspiration, friendships, given me a place to feel sad, happy, and some cities have really changed me. Some more than others, of course, just like people. But you can definitely tell when a city has that spark. Apparently, most of San Francisco was not there in the first place. Or in other words, it's always about $1. My hands are still brown in Europe. Hopefully they won't take my heart and soul away by the age of 30. I tell San Francisco State University professor Alejandro Murgia to drive me to downtown. In the span of 25 minutes, he tells me about the last 25 years of his life and how he ended up with Allen Ginsberg in Nicaragua. My life is going to have some drama. Alejandro tells me I need to write the story of the Latin American diaspora. My story started off just as challenging, if not more so. The gringos will circle around you at the university and stare at you. First, you will end up paying child support. Then you will end up high on Soma, capitalism. May it be that the third world threw its wedding rings into a river. Is this important? Who was getting married? These categories, to put it simply. There is a reason you cannot confuse luxury with pain. You know when to speak which language. Can you produce a free man? Here is the dilemma. You no longer have a machete when tequila-induced sleep makes you handless. The music is out of town. You know, beautiful turquoise water splashes across the beliefs. You know how to have foreplay with your Latina lover in San Francisco. Just tell her white people love you. Don't read pedagogy of the press around her. Instead, send her photos of you smiling in Florence, Italy. As I lie in bed in Budapest, I realize that my generation of people, we have nothing. We have nothing. We are all Latinos, drunk and marginalized and depressed and making money sometimes and fucking sometimes. Does it sound like a contradiction? Let's start with the current context. Do you see why feminism never won in Mexico? The Soviet Union should have taken over Latin America. Palm trees, guns, and a country to the north that kicks you while you sleep. Something must be moved fast like an earthquake. Without realizing, you believe the same thing. If the United States wasn't there, we would be forced to dialogue with earthquakes and have sex with the natural resources we call beauty. Treat me the same way you treat your newborn, which is to say, like the Central American children in cages in Texas. I kissed a woman in San Francisco. She asked me to make money, that she could love me when I start to make more money. My therapist tells me, you have cultural dislocation. You need to heal. You need to process these emotions. I kiss a woman in Paris. She doesn't think I deserve poverty. In San Francisco, she threw me across the bridge, but it should work the other way around. The poor should take over the rich people's property. People can be angry with you in Europe, but at least they don't oppress you. Oppression in San Francisco requires you to look the other way when you see yourself on the verge of domination. I look to my left and there's a medieval painting. I look to my right and the whole city is on fire. What are we doing here? Surviving. For no reason in fucking particular. You see, we won't go far today. We won't go far tomorrow. Trust me, heaven and hell cannot count. You know, love used to mean more to Latin Americans back in the day. You know, don't be all guarded with this shit. If you're gonna come and recite some poetry, just talk about your people. Don't try to convince people otherwise. I feel like I have to give certain things meaning. I have to give meaning to why that happened or this happened or why certain things did not happen. So my creative process, it's difficult because you want to, as a writer, you want to make your words sound very magnificent. You want to come off and have an impression on people, but you want to do it for yourself too. So I feel like it's a process of looking at your ego, looking at your faults as a human, your errors, how selfish you are, how I feel like coming to terms with things, coming to terms with life, because life has not always been easy, at least not for me. And you want things to be endearing. You want to come off as a good person, you know? And so even if things cause you to suffer in life, or like some things really hurt you, you still want to, as I say, you want to be good to your memories. Gabriel Garcia Marquez said something along the lines of, it's not what happens to you, it's how you remember it, how you remember the good times. And you can really shut off certain parts of your brain, and people will have tragic things happen to them, people will have devastating things happen to them, but it's really perspective. And so my perspective of my artwork is to make things sound as aesthetically appealing as possible, but also in a very sincere and wholesome way. And you want people to be hit with it. You want people to be, you want people to feel the humility, to feel that you're trying to be real with them. Nina Simone also said, like, how she believes that nobody, she said something also along the lines of, nobody ever is themselves. Everybody is always coming up with the fronts, coming up with some fakeness, and nobody is ever going to be real with you. You know, there's very few people in life that I've realized. People are guarded with, you know, scars in their life, and well, I've had those scars too, and I have, you know, painful things, but, you know, I will also want my life to be joyful, and I will write things a certain way so that people will be like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. You want to politicize your work. You really want to, you know, transformation as a human being also comes from a place of, you have to check yourself constantly. You have to check the ways in which you also hurt others. You have to acknowledge that you have to destroy the oppression that occurs within yourself, and that you make others feel. So I don't know, like poetry and writing, it's making words sound beautiful, groovy, interesting. I write in one of my poems, you can walk into San Francisco and tell people you love them. It's not even a question of love anymore. So San Francisco, this, you know, this place that used to be so important in the art world, you can walk into the city and tell people you love them. It's not even a question of love anymore. So you gotta dice things up, you know. The city, how you're projecting your emotions onto the city, your experiences, but more so than that, how when you write something, you gotta like, I could spend 20 minutes on a line or on a paragraph, an hour, 2 hours on a whole paragraph, and it's like you really want to get to the soul of a motherfucker. You know, you want to get here. You want to get here. So, I mean, yeah, that's you want to be vulnerable. You want that to happen. And that's what's happened. Like, I've gone around the world. I've had these amazing experiences. I've also been hurt. I didn't think I was gonna live such a prosperous life, and here I am, surrounded by, you know, some of the best people the city has to offer. So, you know, come with some attitude. Come with some. Don't be all guarded with the shit. Just be real with people, and they can love you and hate you, but that's all right, you know. So, and gratitude that you have the space and the ability to do these things. Not everybody in the world can sit around and produce art. You know, people around the world are struggling, are oppressed, are not artists. Be grateful that you have that opportunity. I'm grateful I do. And I know my people and the people I care for and love, that, you know, this is for them. So thank you.